It's mindfulness for touring. So it's little takeaways that people can use who might not have any awareness of mindfulness or meditation, or may already have decided, I don't do that fluffy bunny rabbit stuff. And it's really accessible techniques to how to just bring your nervous system down. You're going out of your mind and you have 3 minutes available to just try and change your mindset into something a bit more positive and useful. You just stepped off stage and you're really adrenalized and hyped. So meditation or mind, little things that you can do to bring your nervous system down so that you have an alternative. If you can figure out which way your compass is pointing and what is behind that, what is your reason to get out of bed every day? What can help you make difficult decisions when you can't decide which option to go for? If you can identify your values and drop them in, it normally clarifies the situation.
Welcome to the Collaborative Resource Hub by Wellness Provisions. Our mission is to bridge the gap between mental health, wellness, and music, specifically rock and roll. I'm Amy McBride, owner of Wellness Provisions, the most badass wellness business. Wellness Provisions supplies rock and rollers with high-quality supplements. We give you a trustworthy place to go where you can essentially shop blindfolded. Our wellness kits were created out of a need to simplify your shopping experience and make it stress-free. You'll get the most effective nutrients in the least amount of bottles with the least trial and error. Immerse yourself in the Collaborative Resource Hub by going to our website, where you'll have access to helpful resources that can nudge you in the right direction. Let's inspire each other. If that guy did it, so can you. Find the Collaborative Resource Hub interviews on YouTube, all major podcast platforms, and subscribe to our newsletter to stay in the loop. Last but not least, my legal disclaimer: nothing in this interview or the Collaborative Resource Hub substitutes medical advice. Please connect with your GP if you need medical guidance. Suzi, thank you so much for making time to talk to me today. How are you?
I'm good. Yes, thank you. Greetings from rainy England.
Yeah.
In summer.
Yeah. So at least if it's raining, then you're inside and you're not missing any sunshine, so it works. You are a nutritional therapist as well as a veteran tour manager, and then you started and host like an online support group called the Back Lounge.
That's right. I laughed just then when you said the word veteran, because I've had a couple of editorials lately and they put the word veteran, and that came out from the very first article was because they wanted to say my age. And actually, it's not that I'm that hung up on my age, but it's like, if you're female, why do they always want to say how old you are? I said, I bet you don't ask the guys that come in your articles.
Do they not?
No. Oh, of course they don't.
I feel like it's just like, if you've been doing it a while, like that, like who cares about your gender? If you've been doing it a while, that's awesome.
Yeah. But no, they really like to put in for women how old you are. So I said, well, I don't want you to put my age then if you wouldn't do it for everyone. So they said, okay, we'll call you veteran.
Wow. Okay, so let me start over. You're a tour manager.
Yeah, and I'm old.
Yeah, that's
Here's the first cat of the call.
Oh yeah.
This is Dylan Puss Puss Presley.
Cute.
He'll leave in a minute. Hopefully not too much meowing if anyone's listening.
Yeah. Okay, so you do all of these awesome things. And the Back Lounge. So the day we're talking, that we're recording this, the interview is going to be airing in 2 weeks from now. But yesterday you launched your website for it. You started the group about a year ago. And what was the, why?
Yeah, so basically what happened on this very day last year, June the 18th, I finally plucked up enough guts to put out a social media post on Facebook that I was feeling a bit disconnected and a bit weird. And did anyone else feel the same? And that I was thinking of maybe starting a support group. And if anyone was interested, email me. And I had 50 replies in just over a day. So that was like, okay, this isn't just a me thing. And this was, June last year. And I remember at the time actually thinking, have I already missed the boat? Should I've done this in April? We'll probably be out of this quite soon. God, how wrong was I? And then, wind on a whole year today, June the 18th, 2021. And that little group, we've met every week since then, since the first one that happened after that post. And I couldn't even tell you how many guests and whatnot we've had through. I know people-wise, we've had over 1,000 people through. Wow. We've got Facebook and Instagram and a mailing list. And as of yesterday, a website, finally. And yeah, I just am blown away by what this funny little group of people that's met every week has become, and it's a community. And I think it's been really inspiring, and I've never felt so impassioned and kind of happy to be doing what I do, because I've tour managed for a long time. I've also had a really big career break from tour managing. I really burnt out with it. Took 10 years out and almost felt like I spent more time trying to get out of the industry than trying to get into it. So it's sort of ironic that it's taken a year, well, it's kind of a year plus now, isn't it? But time off work to be able to step back from it and have a look at it and see what it is I love about it and see what it is I would like to change about it, and maybe have a tiny part to play in that. So that has been my journey from that Facebook post last year to now. So
yeah. What are some of like the highlights or the sessions that you guys have had that you feel have been like the most impactful for people?
Oh gosh. I mean, we've done all sorts of things. So what happens is the group is for anyone who works as any connection, however tenuous, to live touring. You know, originally it was a music industry, but it's become very much about live touring. And so we've got agents that come on, managers who come on, even my visa agents, you know, were coming on until now they're snowed under in Brexit and Spanish visas and things, and US visas. And then awful lot of touring crew across the board, from people that are just starting out to people that are nearly at retirement and worried about working again, you know, given the time out. We have obviously Brits. This is based out of the UK, lots of Europeans, lots of Americans, Canadians. Even there was one point when a lot of Australia was in lockdown, and we were getting a load of Australians at that point because it's the middle of the night for them there. So I guess like good call for insomniac Australians. So yeah, it's got a really mad reach. And what's been really amazing about it is so many people have got this shared experience of what this past year has meant to them. And then going forward from that, what they hope this past year will do for our industry. Because actually, I think there could be a lot of positive that comes out of this if there's enough of us talking about it and enough of us, you know, making it happen and taking action. So the themes are led by the group, you know, what the mood of the group is. And it seems to be a very strange thing that happens, even though we're all around the world, all different ages, all different diversities. There will be points where people dip and the mood seems low. And I find that so weird why that happens. But it really seems to, like, you know, and I suppose some of the reasons were obvious, like in January, I think everyone was so excited about a new year. Like that's all behind us now. That was 2020. And actually what happened was it got even worse.
Yeah.
And the collective mood and frustration and fear, you know, just was magnified. And then what came out of that was the first little green shoots of hope that things might be starting to change. And then we realized that actually a lot of us were feeling really anxious about that. The world was starting to change again. We were transitioning, you know, as sort of rumors of things opening up was happening. So we ran a few calls with that theme in mind. And we did one we actually called it Stockholm Syndrome. And yeah, when someone is being held hostage and they almost start to like that environment and they don't want to be released.
Right.
And the parallel was that after all this strange time in lockdown and, you know, with everything closed and restricted, that now we were really worried about the world opening up again. So whether that's, like fear of audience.
And your comfort shifts, and like this becomes your new like reality that becomes comfortable. So leaving that then becomes weird.
Yeah, you kind of shrink to fit your surroundings. It's a really strange thing. And I mean, who of us have ever been through anything like this before? So So we ran, actually that was ours. We had a really crazy amount of people on the Zoom calls at that point. We were hitting, 50 plus on each call. We were doing, so the Stockholm Syndrome is a really massive one. Yeah, we did Imposter Syndrome as well at that time, because again, I think there's a lot of people in the music industry that suffer from Imposter Syndrome, because a lot of people that work in this weird, wonderful circus don't strictly have qualifications that say, I am a tour manager, I am a backline tech, I am a... So, and what happened too is when we all became unable to work in doing what we do, and then you think, God, I've got to find some other work. I better put a CV together. And then what do you put on your CV? How do you tell people, well, I'm really good at this job that I've just done for the last 25 years, but qualifications, but this, I work with this artist and that normally impresses people, and who cares if you're not in music, you won't even have heard of them anyway. And, so it was a real thing. It becomes such a big thing. So they were really notable. I'm giving you really long answers to your questions.
But the imposter one, I'm curious. So like what did people take away from that call? How did they either feel better about their qualifications, or like, how was it articulated?
There's this amazing thing that happens when you're brave enough to put yourself out there and say, I feel like this. And then someone responds back to you and goes, so do I. And then someone else unmutes and goes, me too. And they're in Chicago and Brighton and, wherever, Latvia. And it's the maddest thing that you suddenly realize that what you're feeling isn't weird. It's actually normal, whatever normal is. But, there's just something about that validates you and makes you realize that then it's not insurmountable. If other people can do this and still get out of bed and show up for work and do that thing that they think they're pretending to do, but actually they're doing it quite well, they just don't feel like they are, well, then you can too.
Yeah. So I guess like a shift in perspective, and it kind of lets you take like a couple steps out of your immediate little bubble, I guess.
Exactly that. But we did one on boundaries that I really loved. And it was a loose theme as that. And we talked a lot about day rates, and that people were worried about their day rates getting renegotiated because coming out of COVID, no one's got any money. People are wondering if it's even going to happen. So suddenly that was a concern. But then it was also a real realization that when you work, whatever your job is, but especially if you tour, you work with a group of people. You haven't always necessarily chosen to be with them. You might love them or loathe them, but you're kind of stuck with them. And all kinds of strange friendships, relationships, boundaries get really bumped together and really squashed. And also between like artist, and manager, and artist and tour manager, and tour manager and manager. And so, so we talked a lot around that. And actually it felt like such an important call. We're almost going to run that theme again in a slightly different way in July, because it just felt, if ever there was a call that was so useful to people going into what we're going into now, it was probably that one.
But boundaries are something, I mean, anyone, obviously, we're all human and we all have, emotions and self-worth and all that. So I guess, what are some key takeaways on putting healthy boundaries in place?
This one, actually, I got into a bit of almost a fight with someone on Facebook, or someone was trying to get me to fight about it. And it was about rates. And what it was, someone had put up about, it was on a really big crew group with about 20,000 people on it, that we all need to stick together and not drop our rates. And I totally hear that and I applaud it. But I know that there's plenty of people that haven't worked and are desperate to earn money. And that is reality right now. And I know for those people, they can't afford the luxury to say, sorry, I'm not dropping my rate, I'm not taking the job. So people will work, they will. And so I tried to respond with that, and I kind of got a little bit shouted down for it. But what my point was okay, so rates may fluctuate for a bit now. What we need to ensure is that they don't stay down. If they drop, that it's temporary, and that if you as a person, for whatever reason, decide to take on work for less money than you ordinarily would do, then whether that's about putting on your invoice temporary COVID rate, or, you know, whatever you want to put it, but that you very clearly state, this is not my usual rate. You're getting me a bit less this time, but next time it ain't going to be that. And it's little things like that that I think is more realistic than to just say no one drop their rates and then we'll all be okay.
Like an all or nothing kind of situation. Yeah.
So that would be very much deciding in advance, well, what is your boundary about what you get paid? What is your bottom line? If you drop and you decide to drop, it's your decision. You're not backed into a corner. You're not bullied into it. And that you are empowered in your decision. And then you decide, okay, this is now, this is what I'm doing, but next week is different. And I think that's a healthy boundary.
Yeah, because you're in control.
Yeah, totally.
Here's an advert in less than 20 seconds. Did you know that Wellness Provisions offers one-on-one wellness sessions? Yep. So if you're seeking to get healthy and ahead in life, but feeling a little stuck, then book a session and let's get you unstuck. Now, back to the interview. I had asked you, what are the top 3 things within your area of expertise that you have found to help the most amount of people? And you had said listening, checking in with people, and just bringing people together. So do you want to kind of explain why those 3 things are so important?
Yeah, I wonder if I could put that into the context of part of the start of my journey of this past year. Was what happened was when everything shut down last March, I actually had COVID, and I luckily wasn't too bad, but it definitely took quite a long time to get out of my system. Mm-hmm. And it was a combination of that and the sort of realization that suddenly my diary just emptied, and the sort of uncertainty and panic around that. I was really, really deeply depressed, on the floor with depression. And I suffer from depression. I've had points, you know, during my life when, you know, when I've really hit that rock bottom. And it's made me very aware that I have to look after myself. And that's a lot of the reason why I really got into well-being in the first place, because I know that I have to. And that if I don't, I'm in danger of, you know, falling off that cliff edge again. So what happened last summer was I was coming out of, well, I was probably still in my sort of deep depression, feeling very lost. 2 things happened. One was I was looking for a support group I could go and talk to other people. And I wasn't looking for a therapy group. I wasn't looking for 12-step. I was looking for just people who would understand my situation, because I was surrounded by people on furlough or retired, or, you know, didn't really understand. And the weather was really good at the time, so they were out sunbathing, and it was like, well, this is all right, isn't it? And I was thinking, God, I've lost all my income. I've got to pay my mortgage. How am I going to, what happens if this is still like this next month? And I was in a panic, and I started going I found a US-based support group called Backline Care, who are amazing. And they have really, really supported me on this mad journey. And that was my first thing that helped me climb out of the pit and start looking over the edge. And the second thing was, I have a friend who's actually in New Zealand who I met years ago traveling. And she does a bit of coaching, but a life coaching. And she offered me a couple of sessions. And it's funny because I hadn't spoken to her that much in the previous years. And then I spoke to her loads during lockdown, which I love, you know, someone on the other side of the planet, that suddenly I'm reconnecting. And we did an exercise where she helped me identify my values. And that was so profound. And it's funny, we've talked about that a lot with different guests that have come on the back lounge, where if you can figure out which way your compass is pointing, and what is behind that. What is your reason to get out of bed every day?
Mm-hmm.
What can help you make difficult decisions when you can't decide which option to go for? If you can identify your values and drop them in, it normally clarifies the situation. And it also explains to me why in 25 years working in music, sometimes I've missed the point and I've hated it and I've had to get out and hit big burnout. And it's always because there's somewhere in what I've been doing that my values haven't been aligned.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been massive for me. And I feel like since I figured what those are, it's just, everything has just fallen into place. And it's kind of been like a juggernaut of experiences since.
Yeah.
So they are.
Yeah. Do you want to share some of
Yeah, I don't mind sharing. So one is connection. So this goes back to what you were just saying, what's important, what's important to share. Connection is massive for me. I have to be with my tribe. When I'm not, I'm floundering. And that weirdly was the recognition that happened to me last year when I thought I need to talk to people who know what I'm feeling.
Right.
The next one is freedom. I realized that I am never very good in work that makes me feel confined or restricted or trapped.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why I keep coming back to touring, because there's so much. I mean, touring is mad as a lifestyle. It's full on. It's really stressful. It's major sleep deprivation. It's all the fun of the fair, isn't it? But you travel all over the world, you meet all these amazing people, you have all these really heightened experiences that if you're into music, like moments when a show has just started for the band I'm working with, and I'll go out front and I'll find a spot in the audience and I'll just stand and have a look around, I'll listen, I'll see what's happening on stage, and I'll suddenly get those little, the little moments of clarity that make you realize, this is why I'm doing this, and it's that. So that to me is kind of like freedom. The next one is diversity. Mm-hmm. Because again, whilst everyone needs some routine, and I think some routine is important for everyone and it keeps you stabilized and grounded. And I think that's a really important thing to bring into touring. I like diversity of experience. I like different people. I like different energies. I like different places. That keeps me excited.
Yeah. And it expands your, challenges your mind. And I mean, that's the root of like all awesomeness is, creating that growth from experience.
Totally. I love that. And then the last one is the one that falls off the wagon fairly often and has caused me problems, because the last one is well-being. And I realized the first time I toured initially, when I started touring for 10 years and then burnt out, thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't sustain this lifestyle. I wasn't very good at drawing up boundaries. I wasn't very good at saying no to anything. I was trying to look after everyone and I'd forgotten to look after myself. And actually, I thought, I'm out. I'm not going to do this anymore. And I still kept connected with the industry. I started doing stuff that was more based from home, some festival work in the summer. But as for touring, it just wasn't on my radar anymore. And then what happened, I had pretty much 10 years off. And that's when I thought, I'm going to do something completely different. And I undertook 4 years of nutrition training and did yoga teacher training and did massage training and a lot of training, spent a fortune on training. And as you do one thing, you think, oh God, now I've got to do this course too.
Yeah.
Never ends. Yeah, I'm still doing that. And but I never really thought that world had anything to do with the music world. It didn't seem to me at the time that there was any crossover at all and that anyone would be interested. But then what happened was, it would be nearly 7 years ago now, I got a completely out of the blue message from a tour manager I used to, not tour manager, a manager I had worked with previously, hadn't even spoken to in about 5 years. And he was looking for a tour manager. And my first reply was, I don't do that anymore. And he said, oh, do you want to know who that is? And I was like, yeah, okay. And it was PJ Harvey. So then, first of all, like after my ego swelled massively that I'd even been asked, you know, and my jaw had dropped, I went in and talked to him and to his business partner, and must have said a few of the right things, and then went and met her and found out that she was really into trying to live well on tour. And it seems so obvious now, but it just hadn't occurred to me that these two worlds could actually come together in some way.
Yeah.
So then, then we embarked on this massive 18-month tour, biggest tour she's ever done. And it was so brilliant to suddenly have a skill set that outside, you know, the tour managing is one thing, but then it was being able to kind of look after people and contribute really good things that actually help people get along and have a better time and stay healthier and have a more enjoyable, pleasant experience. Yeah. Because of these funny things I'd picked up doing something completely different. So that got me back touring. And then that whole ethos, if you like, I think has just massively expanded, and especially during COVID, where suddenly people are really interested in how can they look after themselves. You know, touring is vitally important for most artists. That's a huge part of their income, but not everyone can sustain that lifestyle very easily.
Yeah, and that was what I wanted to ask you was, I guess, what are some ways, like generally speaking, obviously, that could be implemented to have more sustainable touring for, you know, everyone on board, you know, to have just better like personal well-being?
There's lots of little things you can do. And obviously the first one that worries everyone is, well, doesn't that cost? And it depends how much money you have. And yeah, great. If you've got budget that you can allocate towards well-being, there's all sorts of things you can do. But there's a lot of people who tour who don't have any budget. And with that in mind, there's another group I've done a lot of work with in this past year called the Tour Production Group, who are UK based, and our US equivalent is the TPA. So they're very much affiliated with us. And for the UK group, I co-run the mental welfare sessions. And we're very much trying to look at how we can make touring a better place for everyone. So we wrote a mental health charter for touring, and it's a one-page document, and it's one page because we thought that was about as far as most people would get with reading it. If it's too long, no one's going to bother. And it's got really short takeaway things in there that you can do tomorrow on tour that will make your tour better for everybody. It doesn't cost anything. So it's not rocket science. And it's come out of, we had lots of discussions. What can we do? How can we make tours better? People that work in the industry. And it's everything from the fact that touring doesn't have an HR department. It's made up of freelancers for the most part. It's not unionized, you know, actually on tour. There's no one really looking out for you if something goes wrong. Yeah. And if you're the artist, with luck, management are looking out for you. The agent probably isn't. The touring team may or may not be. But if your crew, no one's looking out for you. You know, if it doesn't work and for whatever reason something goes wrong, normally you're out and the next person's in. Yeah. So we thought, knowing what the best tours that we'd been on were like, and what the really bad ones had been like, because everyone's been on a bad tour, and for many reasons, you know, that make it bad. But if there was some structure within the group of people you're with, that there's go-to people that you can talk to if you've got an issue, confidentially, not automatically the people at the top, because sometimes it might be the people at the top you've got a problem with. So, you know, proportionately to how many people you have on the tour as to how many go-to people you might have. Yeah. But if you think about that before the tour is even left, and you circulate that this tour has an open door policy, you know, we would rather that we all get on than not. We're aware of the pressure we're all under, we would be hugely grateful, and you can feel that you can come and talk to these following people confidentially if there's some issue you need to raise, and we endeavor to try and sort that out to make this a better place.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost anything.
Right.
Yeah. Then things like access to fitness facilities is a really big one. And great if you've got the budget where you have lots of hotel stops with nice hotels with swimming pools and gyms. And some people have that, to greater or lesser extent. But it could even be if you're in a van tour or whatnot, if, your tour manager or production manager has actually looked at what fitness facilities are in the area when you've got a day off, that that actually you could go have a really good swim, or there's an amazing hike near the hotel, or something that means that also then brings people together. Like I've done on a tour, we all went zip lining. And had the most amazing day. Yeah, it was great. It was in Denver.
That's like the best, because you're bonding, you're in nature, you're in sunshine, and fresh air, and then you've used up all this energy, so you sleep well. That's like checking off so many boxes.
Exactly. Because you see, there's another thing that we really identified. Addiction and recovery is a really big thing on tour as well, in touring crews. So what it was, me and my co-chair on mental welfare for the TPG, we did mental health first aid training, which is an amazing course, which would be the best thing ever if every tour had a trained mental health first aid person on it. But, that's going to take a while. But what we thought after doing that course was, what an amazing course. But we felt it hadn't really touched on addiction for us, for our industry, and knowing it's something we all seem to have encountered at some point or other. And that's whether you have had or have a problem yourself, whether you've ever encountered 12-step and know what it means, or whether you're working alongside crew who are having issues or who have had issues. Like, how can you support them? How can you spot when there's an issue and know how to intervene? And so anyway, what that did was generated, we went and spoke to a charity in the UK, Music Support, and asked them what would it cost to commission them to write a class for people to go to, like a workshop. Mm-hmm. And what that developed into was, we did a fundraiser for it, and we raised enough money to commission that as a workshop and then roll it out for the next 2 years for free. So that, because no one's got any money, we're all skint because when we're working. And now people still have, to a certain extent, some time available to do things like that. So it's literally about to launch, and that's in the UK, and desperate to launch it in the US as well. So watch this space, because the whole idea is that they're free places. It's not just to people who've got money. And it's just about how we can all support each other. And so things like those days off on tour, that it doesn't always revolve around, well, let's go to a bar and, shoot some pool. And because then there might be a whole bunch of people on your tour that they're not going to go and hang out in a bar, whether they can't because of whatever program they're on and it's too much temptation, or maybe they just don't want to and they want to do something else. So it's just trying to sort of treat the people you're with in a really inclusive manner and be aware of what people need. And as far as you can anyway, try and help people support each other, through the mad circus.
Yeah. Do you have like ideas of people like incorporating meditation or ways they could eat healthy, or, from a nutrition standpoint while they're out on the road?
Yeah, oh, hell yeah. How long you got?
I know, right?
First of all, the first thing is like, God, I couldn't have set it up more perfectly. We're doing resources that are going to go on the website. It's mindfulness for touring. So it's little takeaways that people can use who might not have any awareness of mindfulness or meditation, or may already have decided, I don't do that. I don't do that fluffy bunny rabbit stuff. And it's really accessible techniques to how to just bring your nervous system down. So when you're under pressure, when you have been sat in some, strip lit, no window office all day at a venue, you're going out of your mind, and you have 3 minutes available to just try and change your mindset into something a bit more positive and useful. Or that thing that happens at the end of the night when, if you're a performer, you've just stepped off stage and you're really adrenalized and hyped.
Yeah.
Or your crew and you just loaded out a truck and you're like, yeah, and you want to go to sleep, but actually you better drink a few beers first just to make sure that you can get to sleep. Yeah. So meditation or mind, little things that you can do to bring your nervous system down so that you have an alternative.
Yeah, that's so good. Oh, cool.
So we just launched our website yesterday. We've got a yoga nidra, like a visualization on there as well, a relaxation technique. If you're not so into meditation, you just want to listen to something beautiful. So what will happen is after the mindfulness workshop, we'll pull out resources from that. So some of the things that we learn, we'll record, we'll upload to the website, and it's free. And you don't have to be a member, and there's no fancy sign in. You just click. And there you are, you're in. And then we've got one in August, 4th of August, which is sleep and jet lag.
Oh, nice.
Which is, again, massive on tour, because I kind of think it doesn't matter how healthy you eat and how much exercise you do. If you're not getting good sleep, nothing is going to work.
Because what happens when you're sleeping? Your body's repairing itself. So if you're not giving your body the opportunity to like recalibrate and heal, then it's like, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, the reality is, I'd love to say that, well, I think we need to change all our schedules so that we all get, 7 hours sleep a night. That's not going to happen. But what about then if the sleep you do get, you get a better quality of sleep? So that's what it's about, how you can get to sleep quicker, how you can have deeper, less interrupted sleep so that it's useful sleep.
Yeah, optimizing the time that you do have.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then the other thing, I mean, when it comes to food on tour, because it's such a big thing, if you're a foodie, touring can be amazing because sometimes you get to, eat the most exotic, amazing, and it can be a nightmare. It can just involve, polystyrene takeaways and pizza boxes night after night. So if you're in any way interested in looking after yourself, it's a bit of effort. So I tend to carry quite a lot of stuff with me. It's funny, I was looking at your website too, and that thing about, and I loved what you said about some of the products you stock. And you said something about with as few bottles as possible.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's it. There's actually, I was, because I do they're called wellness sessions, and it's sort of like a coaching thing with people about whatever, if it's a, supplement question or like motivation or whatever. And I was talking to a guy and he's like, I take a bunch of supplements. And I'm like, cool. We were running out of time. And I was like, maybe we should set up another session to evaluate what you're taking and see if we can pare it down, because it's possible. You don't have to do a lot. Being successful does not mean a high quantity. Yeah.
Well, your liver's got to process all that as well. So, but so I always think plan in advance what you're going to do. Because if you think about it before and then work out a bit of a plan as to how you're going to implement that, you're much more likely to get a bit of better nutrition in. Something like a NutriBullet is really easy, and I'll carry powders with me. I'll have on the riders, kale and lemons and ginger and coconut water and berries, and it's incredible. And everyone loves a smoothie.
And I feel like even for people, even just like small bands, just trying, in their van, the powders though, I mean, it's to me that makes sense. Cause I mean, I eat healthfully. I've have, some food sensitivities. And so for however, decades, I bring my own food with me places, or if I'm traveling. And I'm actually going out of town tomorrow, and I've got my little baggies with a protein powder, a mushroom blend powder, greens powder. So I feel like even if you can't have the fresh stuff, you can still make use of lots of powders, mix it in water and call it a day, right?
Totally. I mean, exactly. And even if you can't plug in a NutriBullet and you've just got a shaker cup, I mean, it depends on I'll make you like a shake, take me 2 seconds. This is my version of what you just said. I was just away a couple of days and I was doing different smoothies while I was away. So I've mixed up 3 different things.
Yeah.
And that's my hormone balancing one. And Yeah, exactly. You know, how much room does that take up? Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, and all it involves is just the think ahead and take a little bit of time to portion some baggies or just have your canisters or, whatever. So do you have any other thoughts or advice, tips for people who, I'll bring in my own little tagline for my business for people who want to delay dying, in other words, live a healthier, happier life. What do you got?
Oh, you know what that makes me think of is the blue zones. Have you heard of the blue zones
Uh-huh.
around the world? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where people live the longest and they've been studied because they live so long. And obviously, nutrition and exercise and purpose comes into it. Purpose is a big one, and community. It's not always so easy to figure out your purpose. Sometimes that takes a bit of work and a bit of time and a bit of doing things you don't like to figure out what you do like. But community, I suppose, is reaching out to people around you. Awareness about what you eat. Never going to happen all the time, is it? But at least if some of the time you can think about it, and exercise as little as walking,
Mm-hmm.
or and connecting as little as stepping out a venue every day and seeing the sky and just seeing where you are, because it's all too easy to jump off the bus in the morning, go into the venue, leave at night, oh, bye San Francisco, you were great, I saw absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You have to make an effort to engage, and I think that's what makes life interesting, isn't it? But it doesn't just land on your lap. You got to put yourself out there.
Basically, one has to be willing and personally motivated to go after things that they know in the back of their head are good for them. You got to just do it. Action.
Yes, that's
That.
exactly what I said.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite quote?
Yes, I do. The cat is sitting on my notepad.
Perfect.
Over. Okay, I love this. It literally puts me goosebumps every time. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And it's goeth. So, yeah, I think today, this time last year, I put out a Facebook post saying, I feel disempowered. Does anyone else? And a year later, I've got a community of over 1,000 people. And I can't wait to hit the road and meet some of them, because I think, God, it's going to be wild walking into a festival and going, oh, I've seen you on Zoom.
Yeah. That's awesome. And true, the quote also speaks to, like, wrapping up just the advice stuff is you have to take the action.
Yeah.
Cool.
You do. And it's, sometimes it's the scary step, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think we can get lazy if we're not careful. And a little bit of discomfort sometimes is not a bad thing.
There's something I read. I don't remember what book it was, but I wrote it down and it's on my door because I have a few random things on my door. And it's successful people embrace fear and discomfort. So
Love it. Yeah.
Welcome change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything cool coming up that you want to share on, or?
Yeah, I'll send you links if there's a place you can put them. The 3 workshops, people are welcome. They're free. You just got to sign up. It's on Eventbrite. The website's live. That's going to be evolving because we're going to keep adding resources there for touring folk to just, we want to do sleep stories. Like, I don't know if you know the Calm app, where they have different celebrities read bedtime stories. So if you can't sleep.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah.
We're going to do the roadie version. Watch this space, because I think that's going to be fun. It's just all about building the community. We meet every Wednesday. It's 6 p.m. BST. Mm-hmm. Everyone is welcome. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we've got the website, lots of ways to connect with us now. So pass on through, you don't have to sign up for anything. It never costs anything. It's all free. I always got it on the website too, actually. You're part of it just by showing up. And the idea too is, as we go back to work and hit the rough spots, that there's a whole group of people we can reach out to for a bit of support. So you're never alone.
Amazing. You are doing such cool stuff. And I just love that all of the resources, they don't cost and it's so accessible. And you guys cover so many important topics. And it's, I mean, like to say it's valuable is just like an understatement. So thank you for everything that you do and for taking time to share on here.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm watching your website all the time too, so thank you.
Awesome. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks.
Bye.